Welcome to Stump the Chump, everybody. Let me see. Okay, our first question came in via email before the meeting. Lisa S. Dashboards and Application Studio. How do you create a static list in a combo box based on a calculated field from BAQ to be used as a dashboard filter? Sound familiar?
Yes, I sent some stuff to Lisa. I don't know if she's on here and if any of that worked for her. So,
She's here. She just hasn't been able to test what you sent her.
okay, well, I can show, here, let me go to my demo. Can I share my screen? Okay. I can show you at least where you would input static list info. There's a whole bunch of other information that could be causing errors in that specific example, but at least I can show people something. So let me go edit. So let's add in a combo box. This would be a combo box. So combo box, that's going to be your drop down box. Ooh, let me make it big. I got feedback. That was very helpful. So I will make it as big as possible. Okay. So combo box, that's going to be your drop down. And let's go to the different information in the combo box. So within data, that is where you are going to have the writing information. So like what your selection from here is going to change. So you know how there's two sides of the data. There's going to be whatever fulfills that list in the combo box, and then there is what that selection is, and then that selection gets fed into a table somewhere. So with the combo box, you could link it to a trans field so that when you have your selection, whatever you select then gets put into your trans view. So that's where you typically put that. And then there's list. So you can add on here as many values as you want that are static. So this would be the display name and this would be the actual value. So on your static list, you would enter it in here. If you had an ERP, a BAQ, guessing you would put it here, but I haven't done as many combo boxes. So anybody else on here?
Yep. You put it.
That's
You put the BAQ ID there, and then you set the value field on the text field to be the name of the field on the BAQ.
perfect. Yep. So, and then because this is one of those apps you created from scratch, you can link it to that trans view, and then you can use that trans view the same way that we used it for the date picker before to filter anything. So put it in that where clause, and I could show you that again in this where clause right here. So that when it's changed, you might want to have like an on blur or on click or some sort of behavior for that. But you would have this event trigger again, put it in the where clause the same to whatever field that you linked it to. And
Thanks, Aaron.
since we're already in here, do you want me to show what was the issue before?
Yeah. So Aaron had run into a problem during her demo. Um, couldn't figure it out. She spent some time over lunch and found out what she had done wrong.
You cannot have two window events. I learned that. So window unload. I had two window unload events. You cannot do that. That's what freaked it out. So possibly if you allow interaction, it might work. I'm not really sure fully the scope of how that works. But instead of just having two with the same trigger, I just took one and made it one of my window unload events, which was actually this one. Originally, this event was window unload as well. So instead, what I did was I just made that one in a new, like an event next, so that it will also load on window unload, but I don't have to have two events with the same trigger. And now it works. So I also put in a kinetic message so that I knew my event was working. That's also a way that you can debug. It just takes a bit of time. I didn't want to do it over the presentation. But if we go to March, we know we had a bunch of March 8th stuff. So we're going to put March 9 in there. And then as we change it, we'll see everything is past March 9th because I did it on the big end date. Little quirks here and there and everywhere.
So our next one came in from Ed C, calling us all chumps. I see how this works, Ed. Can an order technically be shipped that is connected to a project phase and project job? He needs the MFG to customer transaction to take place and all of the missed charges, taxes, and other things to work. It would be good for the accrued sales recognized subtracted from the final billing.
We usually connect it to a project, but not down to the phase.
I have not tried that either.
How do you link it? I see in the order you can link it to a project, but I don't know how you would link a sales order to a project phase.
So we have done this before. In a project, there is I'm going to pull one up here. There's a spot for on a WBS phase, you can link a WBS phase to an order. Okay.
There we go.
So I have let's pick a project here. This happens to be one of our busier projects. We've got a whole string of WBS phases and subphases associated with it. If we look at related, I've got related order lines. In this case, I've got about 12 or 14 lines. Each one of those lines is associated with what I'll call kind of like a parent WBS phase. So we look at that order line, or that, let's go back to the phases, and I'll pick this phase 1, and this particular one it doesn't have a WBS phase job. Let me get another one. So 2 has a WBS phase job associated with it, and in this case, it's just got a single sequence on it. And so then if we go to related, let's come back here to the main one more time. I've got, I was looking at that one phase. There's a job, WBS phase job attached to it, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 more project jobs as subphases attached to that. And I'll bet I've even got that job right there is also connected to, so if I look at, project phase, so this phase has got both a manufacturing job and a project job attached to it. So if there's an order to prod relationship between a order and a normal manufacturing job, we can ship those, and the MFG to cus transactions go along with it. But I can't ship come back here to this phase 2, which is connected to that order. I can't ship that one.
So you did a make direct prod on a WBS phase job? Did you do that manually? I didn't even think that Epicor would. Interesting.
Well, we have there's a BPM that we have fire that helps kind of create a project and get it going and make it match the order. Copies lots of information from the order over. To my knowledge, it doesn't do anything that wasn't out of the box functionality. We didn't do any customizations other than the automation that added fields or permitted something to happen. So if we go look at just say for example, I go look at this order line 2. It is, let's see, the release is pegged to the project and phase. And as far as I know, this was all out of the box.
Yeah, that's normal, right? But
okay.
But you still have to build the order and ship it like normal, right? You don't build, at least normally, you don't build the order itself or the job in the WBS phase job. The reason for linking the order to the WBS phase is for revenue recognition purposes.
And we do that. That's
how I understand that, right?
Yeah,
so you shouldn't have to ship.
A lot of that.
You shouldn't have to right. You shouldn't have to ship the WBS phase job. You should have to ship from WIP the actual manufacturing job.
Well, but if I have WIP cost on the WBS phase job, it doesn't go along with it. If I only have WIP cost on a WBS phase job and there is no manufacturing job, that cost doesn't go with it. If I have ODC costs and things like that, they just kind of hang out in WIP until we close the project, and then the system creates a bunch of MFG to VAR transactions
Right. So what we
which are
do in our
nasty.
case for that, yep, we have the same problem. But what we do in our case is we close the WBS face job on a weekly basis, run WIP, and then reopen it. And that basically flushes out the cost accumulated on the job into the project. But it still won't push the cost to the order line item because the WBS face job is not related to the actual item you're building on the line, right? The relationship is that you're tying the WBS phase for revenue recognition purposes to the sales order, but the cost associated, the cost accumulated in WBS phase job is just accrued cost against the project.
The next one is also from Susan. Is there a way to add an additional column to an existing kinetic grid in a standard window? For example, they want to add product group to RMA disposition landing page.
Yes, but how much do you hate yourself? Um,
I was gonna say that.
Oh dear. Okay.
So, so most standard landing pages are tied to the get rows method of a business object, and there is not a lot of wiggle room there. You can replace the landing page query with a BAQ if you'd like,
Oh god. Okay.
but that requires you to rewire all the related events and things like that
Yeah.
There
around
are a
it,
lot. There are a
and
Yeah.
there's a
lot.
lot of them, right?
There's a lot of
Um,
tran view stuff.
Yep. You can also add an additional column to the view, which is tied to the landing page in your data view, and then via some event populate that extra column manually on a loop. Once the BAQ runs, or once the get rows method runs, you can basically loop through the result set and populate the individual column manually. But it is time consuming in terms of how much processing is going to take for you to populate that field. So
Mm,
I would
okay.
say, unless it is incredibly essential, it's not worth the hassle.
Okay.
The other thing you can do, which we've done a couple of times, is if you already know that there is a column in that grid that you currently do not use, there isn't a lot stopping you from creating a post-processing BPM
Mm,
on get rows that just
yeah.
shoves the value you want in the unused
Yeah.
column and change the label.
Okay. That's a good idea. Okay.
You can
Okay.
also attach a view to this disposition and make it a tracker box. So I've done that before. If you can't change out the grid, if you want it just to like have a little tracker box above that fills in that product group based on what line you're choosing. I mean, it's not great if you're going to export to Excel, but if you're just
Yeah.
looking at the screen, it's also an option.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
The next one
Well,
came in from Ryan. How can I utilize cycles per minute or cycles per hour to enter the number of cycles in job labor instead of entering the piece quantity? When you're doing the labor entry, depending if you're doing end activity, I think you have the ability to put the cycles in there. If you do the work queue, I don't think that's in the grid.
If you added some customizations, you might be able to get it.
Again, you'd be adding a column to the work queue grid. I don't know if that's going to be super easy. Putting it on the
yeah.
end activity screen would probably be the easiest, or use the end activity screen and just turn that field back on. I think it's in there. It's just not by personalization, it's turned off. Okay, our next one came in from Monica W. What is the best way to lock down the memo field? I was able to create a memo in sales order and then delete it in Tracker. I would turn around and on the business method for that memo. If you're not a member of that security group, don't let them turn around and choose the delete option. So I would just put a data directive on that memo business object and put the block in there. If you're not a member of this security group, you can't do it.
I know it seems counterintuitive that you were able to delete it from the tracker, but Memo itself is a separate UI, a separate business object altogether. So even though you're in Tracker, when you click the button to go or view Memo, you are transferring yourself to a different business object that isn't Tracker only. It is also editable. So as Calvin said, if you don't want people to be able to delete memos, the best way to do that is to put a BPM in place to stop them.
Okay, I don't know as if I would turn around and say block everybody. I would just say create a security group. And if you're not a member of that group, you can't do it. Otherwise, you're blocking literally everybody from doing it. Next one is from Mickey here. How do we identify parts in Epicor so the system generates MRP based on the last 4 weeks of parts sold? And we want to give us it to give us one MRP per month versus multiple productions for the same product. And I'm going to say what's your days of supply that you set up on the part and your planning fence for MRP.
I think we have those set at 0.
Bing, bing, bing. We have a winner as to why it's doing it.
Okay, so what exactly do we need to do?
So here on the site for a part, we'll go ahead and pull up a dummy site. We're going to take a look at the planning, the advanced planning, and calculated planning values. So for my lot sizing, for default, what's my days of supply? Do I want to have a 30-day supply always on this part?
Yes.
Awesome. That's one way to do this. There is also a time window for MRP, days before and days after a demand record. If I want to set a demand record on the 15th and I have my days before and days after of 15th, that means anything between the first day of the month and the last day are going to get processed on one suggestion.
Okay, perfect.
So you got
Thank
a
you very
couple
much.
ways that you can do this, Mickey. The days of supply is also going to feed into your purchasing, because I'm going to say your next question is going to be, how do I limit my purchase suggestions? It's done the same way. Otherwise, you're going to get a suggestion, move everything even just one day. So if my demand record changes on MRP and it goes one day out, I'm going to get a suggestion to postpone it one day.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And the next one, hey, it's also Mickey. How do we create a recurring maintenance job for preventative maintenance work? So maintenance jobs also have the ability to create templates. And you can create a maintenance template that says, hey, I need to do this. Now, if you're looking to have a maintenance job that's preventative maintenance every 90 days, we need to do an oil change. Normally, the maintenance jobs are going to wait for someone to report a cycle count or a number of runs that the machine has been run. Then it's going to say, hey, we're going to recommend a maintenance job because you've met this threshold. If you have one that's going to be fixed every 3 months, you want to run an oil change, you can just go in and create a job and just copy it 4 times for the year and put them out there. Let it run the schedule, lock them, and now all of your MRP jobs are going to move around those rather than say, hey, move it. It'll say the machine's not available, it's committed on this day to an oil change, start the production the next day.
Okay, so to automatically have it recurring, though, would be based on cycle count.
You can do it based on cycle count or number of pieces type thing, but then you have to enter the meter readings, and when you hit that, it's going to say, hey, you met your level, go make a maintenance job.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. So you're saying we just
Generally
need...
after the fact.
So
You
you're
want to
saying...
know it before that date, it's every 3 months we want to do this. Or every month we're going to run 50,000 pieces. When we hit 200,000, we want maintenance to run. I would still look at what your cycle is and just create a maintenance job for the year.
Some of them are going to be weekly.
Now, the nice part is you can turn around and duplicate. I think still in maintenance jobs, I'm going to pull that up here.
Matt's got some input too. If you have the maintenance module, you can set up a recurring maintenance plan, and the plan says every number of days, weeks, or months.
Okay, our next one came in from Kathleen M. Okay, the screen's back in sync. They have ADP they're using, and they're looking for a way with the DMT tool to pull payroll employee maintenance and change some information.
Hello.
How are we getting the data? Is that coming from ADP or from Epicor?
This is coming from the conversion from Vantage to Kinetic, and it all came in inactive. I have to go through and activate everybody.
All the employees came in as inactive?
Inactive, no payroll, provider ID, or hire dates.
Okay, so you're looking to mass update your Kinetic database using the DMT to mark them all active.
Yep, and there's nothing available in the DTM tool, and I've asked Epicor about this, and I'm still waiting for an answer.
I don't think payroll files are available in the DMT.
Unfortunately, I think you do an updatable BAQ, I suppose, and try to update it that way, but it doesn't look like DMT has one built in.
That would probably be the only way, but it's going to enforce that it's run by a payroll security manager. I don't think you could log in as like a DMT user or a system manager. You'd have to log in as a payroll person. into the DMT so that it would, or into the system so the updatable BAQ could do the transaction. But then you could take that updatable BAQ, just write a BAQ of the payroll employee info, take that to Excel, change all the values to true for that active, update the other fields, then take it back from Excel, paste it into Epicor, and let the updatable BAQ make the changes.
If you
And
have access to, and I'm in Classic, so I don't have a Kinetic screen right now, but I'm guessing it's the same thing. If you have access to payroll employee maintenance, though, it does
yes,
look like paste insert and paste update work on the list view. So you could potentially set up the list view in there, export to Excel, update the changes, and paste it back in. Again, it works in Classic. I haven't tried in Kinetic if the paste insert works in that screen, but in Classic it does.
okay.
And so that might be the easiest solution. I don't know if you're familiar with that functionality.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna have to figure it out.
I can show you real quick. So here's your payroll entry screen in Classic. Again, Kinetic has ostensibly the same functionality. I just don't have it set up. Actually, here, let me click this, see what happens. But regardless, if you go here to list, right, and you load, I don't have any records, but let me just make one real quick. So let's say that you load the record into the screen, and you can do that by searching. It'll show up on the list. So there's a lot of other setup here because I don't use the payroll module. But I'll show you in Employee Basic, which is similar. But basically, you load all the records. This list will populate. You can then right-click on this list and say Export to Excel. In Excel, you can update all the fields, and then copy everything in Excel and do what's called a paste update in here. And it will basically go down the list and match the records and update them as they go. And again, the functionality should be available in Kinetic as well. But let me see. Can you see? You can see that, right?
Yes.
Let me go to Employee Basic, which is again a similar process, but it should work the same way. But regardless, if you should be able to get to Classic still at this point, and so load all your records. So go here, click Search, find all the records, select them all, go to your List tab, right-click, copy to Excel, make the updates to the fields you want, then copy the Excel back and do a paste update, and that will go down each. Basically, it's the same thing or similar to what DMT would do.
All right, thank you.
You will have to have access to payroll maintenance, but you'll have to have that no matter what. So,
Yes.
Monica also suggested there's a payroll employee flag, and if that isn't set, maybe the DMT won't work for those fields.
It just doesn't show up at all. It's a
Okay.
different table. Yeah, there's no payroll employee. There's payroll check and payroll other things, but there's no
payroll
payroll
employee checkbox is on the Employee Basic,
Yes,
I think is
right.
what Monica was referring to.
Yep.
Right,
She
but that
said
doesn't
they don't-
include all the other fields. There's employee, although hold on, let's see if there's template for, because you might get lucky if the template for DMT might include the payroll table. Let's see. Nope, just employee basic. So,
Yep.
yep, yeah. So you
And
just
the
don't
only
have
thing in the Employee Basic, when you check that payroll employee, is it moves to the shell of the record over to payroll.
Yep.
But
Correct.
you can have more people in payroll than you have as shop floor employees.
Yep. Yeah, so I would definitely try the paste insert option if you can.
I will give it a try. Thank you so much.
You can also use that, by the way, Kathleen. You can use that right click and paste insert and paste update on any screen that generally has a list view. So while you guys are moving your data from Vantage up to Kinetic, that may be a quick way of doing updates for you as long as there's a list view. Okay, Ed asked a follow-up question. What is the Epicor process to update the supplier performance? So if you go under system management, I think there's a schedule a process set, or just search the menu for this. When you scroll through the list, you're going to find a schedule load graph, customer shipping performance, plant, sales order, and supplier. You need to run this supplier one on at least a once a day schedule so that when you go in, you're seeing updated calculations and info for suppliers. By default, none of these are turned on of the 5. You need to set them up for the ones that you're going to use under Shop Vision. These are not turned on by default, Ed. So whoever was asking that question about supplier performance, this answers the exact same thing. The next one we have from Dave O. Is there a way to copy all of my UD module menu items from pilot to live using Kinetic UI? I can do this with Classic Solution Workbench. I don't see how to do this in Kinetic UI. Well, Dave, you're quite smart because I don't know of a way to move menu items in 100% correctly in Kinetic. Jose, have you found a way to copy menu items?
Does it not? I've never tried in Kinetic Solution Workbench, but doesn't it have the option to copy menu? It seems to
They do.
let me, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
they
pretty
do.
sure you can do that in the solution workbench in Kinetic.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
I've
looking
done
at
that.
it here. It's letting you do it using standard solution workbench. I guess we
But
would
when
need a
you
little
try
more
to load it
context.
in, it doesn't load correctly, is
Ah.
what
Ah,
Joe and I have found out. We can create a solution. We just can't get the
sure.
solution to go back in.
I
Oh,
haven't
Epicor.
gotten that far, so I couldn't tell you.
Now, that may be getting fixed in like 25 and 26 when there's no longer an option between Classic or Kinetic. Maybe
I'm in
that issue
25
will
and it seems okay, but I haven't tried to load it back in anywhere.
I definitely know that when you load them back in, you would have to go back into Kinetic and make sure you turn anything that you want to Classic back to Classic. But I'm pretty sure I've seen all of them come in. Again, just the Classic ones are a little trickier. That would have been 24 too.
This is going to be kind of a test. I'm not sure what version you're running there, Dave. We just ran into it, I think, with 23 too. Next one is back from Monica, and it's really for everyone. They're looking for someone that's using Configurator. And Monica, if I can unmute you, you want to see how it works to see if it's a good fit for you. And I'm going to throw the question at you. Are you looking at old Configurator or new CPQ?
We're getting ready to upgrade tonight to 2024. So as far as I know, it's whatever configurator they pitched to us. Sorry if
Is
that's
it
vague.
a standalone product or is it the one on the Epicor menu? So if you go under sales management on the menu, are you seeing product configurator there?
I
I think it's called
think that
configurator management.
it was gonna be, did they just change the third party and now it's part of Epicor or something like that?
They bought KB Max and they've been working at making it part of Epicor.
Okay, so maybe that's what we got. It's been a couple months since we got the sales pitch. Anybody that's using 2024, whatever version of configurator goes with that, right? So it's
Both work with that version. That's the problem. You're at a catch-22 here because both worked in this version. The old one, they're saying they're going to retire in 2026, but they haven't given people an answer of, are we giving you the new version for free or do you just have to rebuy it and move all your configurators?
yeah, I think we would do the new version. I don't think we would buy something that would go away in 2026.
Double check that with your CAM that they're not giving you or selling you the old product configurator. It is the new CPQ.
I'm looking at their draft quote. It just
Yeah.
says product configurator SaaS because we're in the
Software as
cloud.
a service, that would be CPQ.
Okay.
Spencer Smith has commented that they're using configurators heavily and they're in the process of moving to the new CPQ. We can
Okay.
go ahead and send you Spencer's contact info so the two
That
of
would
you
be
can talk.
that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
You got it. Yes, David, the embedded classic configurators using the old are going away, but a lot of people complain about them anyway, just getting them to work on the Kinetic screens. Next one. Hey, back to Monica.
I'm a popular
Pitching
person
jobs
today.
for sheet metal. Anyone using a script to calculate costing based on a unit measure of pounds instead of quantity?
I think we have it figured out, but we just want to make sure that we're not shooting ourselves in the foot since we're kind
For
of
the sheet, is it a part specific UOM?
So we inventory it and have it in stock in sheets, right? Which is inch by inch dimensions. One sheet is a specific amount of dimensions, and then the unit of measure that's on the part that's being cut is in pounds. And so it gets a little wonky. We do not have the advanced unit of measure module. And at some point, somebody had said that could help with that calculation of converting it from a sheet to cubic inches, which we don't have, but we use pounds. Similar concept, right? So I just want to see if there's anybody else doing something like this and just what kind of tricks of the trade or what they're doing behind the scenes to get that costing to calculate. Because when you batch a job, the software wants to take, say if there's 5 jobs and you're making 100 parts, it's dividing the costing by 100 and not if you have one part weighs 1 pound and the rest of the parts weigh 20 pounds. You know that the costing is not the same because the material that you used is not a 1-to-1 ratio.
Exactly. And on that setup, you can turn around and put in a fraction, but I'm going to say that probably changes by your nesting software.
And right, and that's what my counterpart did, is that he created a script to go and calculate that costing ratio, is what I'm calling it, right? But it gets a little quirky because of your numbers can be fractions. Your poundage can be a fraction of a pound, and so you're not always going to get an even 100% when you go to divide it out. So it gets a little bit complex. We think we have it figured out, but we haven't tested it yet.
Okay. Let me know. I'm like, there are some unique ways to get nesting software to work with job batching and send the data back and forth.
Okay.
So that you can say, hey, I've got all of these materials that are going on 16 gauge diamond plate. Show me all the jobs nested by diamond plate so I can send that to the nesting software along with their DXF file so that we can look at the design and lay it out the best way optimized on a sheet. But then you'd have to take back from the nesting software that breakout ratio that your guy is writing a calculation.
Yes, but we have a physical person that does the nesting. So yes, we have nesting software, and I think he's manually rearranging the part on the picture of the sheet metal based on the dimensions.
Which is totally fine, as long as when he lays it out on the sheet, these are the parts, this is the ratio, and this is the amount of scrap, and how you're going to allocate that scrap to each of the components. Because you could have a square cut inside of a donut cutout inside of a larger.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. And I had my counterparts out of the office today, so we haven't had a chance to talk about it. But that was the direction that I was taking it in, was why can't we use the data from the nesting software and somehow bring it into Kinetic, into that batching process to eliminate that, calculation that's needed. But we're not quite there yet. But I wanted to see if somebody else was doing it. I know it's possible.
Yes, you are not the first one. There's a handful of people. I can put you in touch with them as well, Monica.
That would be great, Calvin. I appreciate it.